Today you're going to learn about how to sound like a native speaker and get rid of your accent. But I have to make this remark first, it's actually impossible to get rid of your accent completely, as a native speaker will always be able to tell the difference, but you can do your best in order to sound as native as possible. I first got interested in English as a teenager, and at that point of my life I was actively listening to Hollywood and Dad, and at some point I just went on the internet, looked up their songs, the lyrics, and the translation to that. And I also recommend doing that because this way you can learn a lot of swear words and also a lot of real colloquial vocabulary that you normally do not find in the textbooks. Right, but basically just sing along, right? That's the first tip. It sounds easy, but you will see how quickly you might get out of breath. And that doesn't only have something to do with the fact that you're not really a singer, maybe you're not, right? But also with the fact that you're singing in a foreign language, right? And when you speak a foreign language, the times when you have to pause, when you have to inhale or exhale, they're different, right, compared to your native language. So if you don't listen to music that has a lot of lyrics in it or that is rather slow, right, I actually recommend you to explore and find something that is more energetic, because it will make you keep up with the tempo and it can help you with your fluency as well. This can sound very trivial to many people, but these many people also tend to ignore it. I recommend focusing on pronunciation from the very beginning of your learning journey, because this way you can ensure that you don't have to, at some point, right, you don't have to go back and relearn it or learn it again or start learning it. I know if you're a beginner, you might think something like, well, but I have to speak well, right? I have to focus on my grammar. I have to focus on my vocabulary. And I understand that, right? You want to be understood. You want to understand the other person speaking. But at the same time, if you want the other person to understand you just as well as you understand them, you should maybe pay attention to your pronunciation, because sometimes it does matter a lot, right? And now, what is your pronunciation? Your pronunciation is how your mouth organs work, right? And now, depending on what your native language is, they will work differently compared to the language you're learning. Now, if I manage to convince you to improve your pronunciation, the first thing I recommend you to do is to focus on the articulation of native speakers. Whenever watching a video on YouTube, right, try to pay attention to how a native speaker is actually speaking, and by that I mean how they articulate, because it is exactly their tongue positioning, it is exactly their lip positioning, it is exactly how wide you open your mouth or something, what creates an accent or helps you to get rid of it, right? Now, depending on what your native language is, you will see that it might be rather easier or rather more difficult for you to actually imitate what the other person is saying or imitate how the other person is speaking. Because our mouth organs are actually built differently. Differently compared to the speakers of a foreign language. And now, mouth organs usually consist of muscles, and you can train your muscles first by imitating and then by actually practicing. The way you can practice is also that you can find some tongue twisters, right? So if you think your accent is actually okay, or there are just a couple of sounds that you can you want to focus on, right? You can always find a tongue twister for that and just practice it. Now that you know that accent training depends a lot on how well trained your mouth organs are, you actually have to train them. You should also know that in the beginning, it will not always be easy. If you're actually starting to practice your pronunciation, to practice accent training, you might notice that your mouth organs actually hurt, right? That your vocal cords are getting tired, that your jaw hurts. Why? Because you've been speaking your native language for your whole life, right? You're used to that. Your mouth organs are used to that. And now you're doing something new, and this is stressful for your body. But none of this helps as much as shadowing, because shadowing focuses specifically on stress patterns, on intonation, on the rhythm as you mimic the speaker in real time, right? And once you start doing that, you will see how the speaker's voice either rises or falls, right? How the speaker emphasizes words to convey some meaning, or maybe just because it is like that in the language, right? So it is quite complicated to do, not gonna lie, but this technique is actually actively used when learning or practicing interpreting, but you can also apply it in language learning. So if you want to learn more about what it actually is and how to do it properly, you can watch my next video.